Catherine Rampell on CNN. She's one of the hosts. You'll recognize her when I show you her face, but she calls Elon Musk a Nazi. That's on CNN. That's what CNN always does. Once again, this is the same playbook that goes back to like the Reagan era, even Nixon era, of the left calling the right fascist Nazis. They called William F. Buckley a fascist Nazi.
Now listen, you right stop calling me a crypto Nazi.
Let's stop calling names.
You in your goddamn face, and you'll stay plastered.
It doesn't work. But now, given all of the legal settlements, I mean, CNN's going to have to, they're opened up to legal lawsuits from Elon Musk. But for sure, this Catherine Rampell is compromised and ready for a lawsuit if she keeps doing this stuff. How hard would it be for Elon Musk to nail her for defamation? Welcome to the Doug TenNapel channel.
Look, the first time that Elon Musk decides to declare that globalist Jews are responsible for the great replacement of brown people into the United States, maybe it was a misunderstanding, you know?
This is Catherine Rampell. This is the gal. I don't recall that statement from Elon Musk exactly in that way. I know Elon Musk does a lot of humor in that area of talking about Jews. I haven't heard him say anything like that they were responsible for the great replacement theory. I believe that's insane.
The second time he said that Jews are pushing hatred against white people, that's a quote. You know, that was a little iffy.
I think it's wrong to say anything, the Jews, the Jews, the Jews, because they would have to be, I would think, at least 51% of the Jews, and that's just not true. But they've been accused of fomenting white hatred. How?
In some ways, that hysteria actually is what gave rise to the anti-Semitism today. It has its roots in the wokeism of 3 years ago that spread like wildfire when you had supposedly pro-Jewish organizations like the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, propping up BLM. Now, you fast forward a few years later, what do you have? Elon Musk engages in open dialogue, who would have ever thought, in a free speech platform called Twitter, responding to somebody else raising the idea that, you know what, these toxic ideas from several years ago and people who have entered our country have brought some of these anti-Semitic ideas and I would say racist and other ideas to the United States play some role in the anti-Semitism that we're seeing today. But for pointing that out, Elon Musk gets called anti-Semitic.
Through their ownership of the NBA and things like that, through their funding and producing of a lot of the rap music is produced by Jews in the industry.
And I'm telling black people, who promotes more black destruction than the Jewish community? By way of hip hop and entertainment. The movies that they choose to put us in don't depict us in the best light.
The worse these songs became, the worse the culture became. Blacks didn't used to be counterculture like that. We didn't used to want to not speak English correctly. We didn't used to want to not want to get a job or want to not do these things. But when music started to tell you this is what a real N-word is, and then being a real N-word was something that you had to aspire to be as a black person, that being defiant, being a headache, being disruptive, the music pushed it and the people went along with it. And you gotta ask, blacks did not own one music studio, one record company. And the people who's had these record companies.
Were they white people?
They were white adjacent.
I don't know what's this opioid thing, man.
But being a crackhead wasn't cool back then. Being a crackhead wasn't cool. Now they seem like they're making it cool to be drinking lean and syrup and
it's the most dangerous. It's the most dangerous thing that's facing our society.
So why sign an artist that would promote that?
Because I already answered that question. You weren't paying attention. She asked me talent or issues, and I said talent. But I have to. I can't give up on people.
But I'm saying that's hypocritical, though. You're saying
it's opportunistic.
Yeah.
I got people to feed.
All our rich sports figures is a Jewish person somewhere behind them.
It was the rap industry themselves that were warning and angry about the Jews making so much profits off of their music. Okay? I don't want to push it too hard. I'm only saying those are the kinds of conversations that have gone on. So Elon Musk is not that far out of what even black culture has said. I'm going to do a video later on Jason Whitlock and what he has said about the Jews, what Candace Owens has said about the Jews. I'm just saying it's a cult. It's part of their culture.
By the second Sieg Heil, I think he kind of loses the benefit of the doubt to be not accused of playing footsie with these Nazis.
Look at Scott Jennings going, holy cow. She goes the second Sieg Heil. So that comes from when he showed love to an audience, he put his hand on his heart and he put his hand out. You know, it's a straight hand gesture. It might have looked like a Nazi salute. If I saw someone doing that, I would say, yes, there's similarities, but not the hand over the heart and then going out. He was showing his love to an audience. Now she's saying by the second Nazi salute, she can't forgive him for it. I only want to say I never heard of someone who's a Nazi who was ashamed of it. So he would own it if he was really saying yes. I mean, he did it in public. So it's a terrible way to hide your Nazism if you're doing what could be easily misconstrued as a Nazi wave, which I don't believe he did, but I'm saying it could have easily been misconstrued. And all Elon Musk, he's the most powerful man in the world, to say, guys, it is our time. It has come. We will, launch the final solution. He didn't do that. He's strangely hidden about his ideology, if that's what he is. So then the left has to come up with all their secret plans. They're like, no, he secretly believes it, but publicly he's throwing salutes around. That's kind of conflicting marketing. Is he or isn't he? And if he's so clandestine and well hidden about it, why in the world would he be doing this salute in public? Kind of a giveaway. So I don't buy the whole conspiracy that he is a Nazi. I just don't believe it. So again, if I ever saw something in his actual worldview that said, for instance, what would be Nazism? Eugenics, which is pro Planned Parenthood, pro aborting black babies, pro all that, that would give me a clue. By the way, all of these are from the Democrat Party right now, who are far more aligned with the ideology behind Hitler hating Jews than, well, you got to remember what drives totalitarianism and fascism. It's the idea that your DNA is destiny. The idea that your skin color represents some kind of DNA programming. It was Hitler that said that, the Jews were from an unpure line. That is, their DNA dictated that they were bad. And then his Norse mythology and all the Germanic Aryanism and stuff said that white DNA was smarter. If you prefer whites to blacks, you're a racist. But on the reciprocal of that, with the Democrats in the last 4 years with BLM and DEI, if you give preference to a black person over a white person,
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
That is also racism.
I'm not saying he's a Nazi. I'm saying the Nazis think he's a Nazi, which they very clearly did at this event. And these words were not said in a vacuum. As you pointed out, the leaders of AfD have embraced, in many cases, the Nazi heritage. They have wanted to take down the Holocaust Memorial in Berlin, saying it is inappropriate to recognize this horrific chapter in German history. And I just think it's horrific. I don't understand why this guy keeps getting the benefit of the doubt. So
hold on. She's talking to that, is it ADF that she said, the political party, that it's a Euro political. I don't know if it's South African or if it's Europe, but you know, this conversation reminds me of Le Pen also, and Michael and Farage out in UK, where they said they were Nazis. So it's what they do to conservatives and Le Pen, that they've all said anti-Semitic things. Okay, this is a paranoia. This is name calling. I don't care what party you're in. I care about what you do. Racism is a terrible thing. It's terrible when Nazis do it, and it's terrible when liberal white progressives do it.
Bit of the doubt, whether or not he believes this stuff
personally. You didn't even mention the Nazi jokes he was making on Twitter.
Yeah.
That actually got.
He's been given so many chances.
About it.
Now hold on. Now I draw the line at Nazi jokes. I draw that as these people are way crazy, way nuts. The idea that you can't tell a Nazi joke without being a Nazi is ridiculous. Humor is a totally different thing. I like self-deprecating humor. So I personally like jokes, well-told, well-written jokes that might be about whites and Christians. I think they're funny. I don't want to hear someone telling cheap jokes about whites and Christians if they're just trying to make that point. So I don't like easy, dumb jokes like Bush is dumb, you know? That was always a dumb joke. Christopher Hitchens said that.
I've been on the Jon Stewart show, I've been on your show, I've seen you make about 5 George Bush IQ jokes per night. There's no one I know who can't do it. You know what I think? This is now the joke that stupid people laugh at. It's a joke that any dumb person can laugh at because they think they're smarter, they can prove they're smarter than the president. Like the people who make booing and mooing noises in your audience.
It's a dumb joke told by dumb people for dumb people. But Elon Musk telling a Nazi joke tells you nothing about his ideology. I don't think jokes are that telling, especially if they're well crafted and a funny joke. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I was hearing a lot of sighing, Scott. What's the deal?
I mean, we've moved on from Trump derangement syndrome to Elon derangement syndrome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to defend his saying the Germans get to
Let me let him finish, Catherine.
I love this game we play where you talk for 2 minutes, I talk for 3 seconds,
ahead,
and you
Scott.
freak out. So
You freak out. Look at her, got her. I talk for 3 seconds and you freak out. Look at her. Oh, can she be as respectful to Scott Jennings as Scott Jennings was to her just now?
he has a long record of supporting the Jewish people, number one. Number two, anybody who is asserting this thing he did on the stage the other day was a sig heil, which I just heard you say, you know, lawyer up maybe, because absolute ridiculous thing to say.
Oh, and lawyer up, that is legally liable. If she damages his business by calling him a Nazi and she uses the CNN platform, get ready for a lawsuit.
Under no
the
circumstances.
Nazis in Germany thought it was a sig heil.
Under no
The Nazis in Germany thought it was a sig
circumstances
heil.
was he doing anything other than expressing enthusiastically.
Why don't you do it on TV right now?
His appreciation.
Why don't you do it on TV right now if you think it's so?
Number three.
Look at her. She can't stop interrupting him. He just said, "Can I make my point?" And he sat there quietly while she made her point. And now through his whole thing, she's going to do the Karen bickering wife.
So
number three. Number three. I think it is fully appropriate. And I, of course, have been the strongest supporter of the Jewish people on this network for over a year, since October the 7th.
Is that true?
To remember the Holocaust.
She can't shut up. And by the way, all the liberals were covering up for the Palestinians that were protesting at our universities and saying, throw the Jews into the ocean, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. They took over our campuses. Every liberal on the panel covered for them and said, oh no, this is not anti-Semitism. This is what destroyed the Democrat Party even in the last election. Jews also turned to Trump.
And here's what I will do to defeat anti-Semitism and defend our Jewish citizens in America. My first week back in the Oval Office, my administration will inform every college president that if you do not end anti-Semitic propaganda, they will lose their accreditation and federal taxpayer support. I will inform every educational institution in our land that if they permit violence, harassment, or threats against Jewish students, the schools will be held accountable for violations of the civil rights law. Jewish Americans must have equal protection under the law. They're going to get it. At the same time, my administration will move swiftly to restore safety for Jewish students and Jewish people on American streets.
The Holocaust and to remember the atrocities committed against the Jewish people. And I also think it's appropriate to remember the atrocities committed against them right now. And it seems to me, let me just finish my point.
No,
it seems to me,
I won't let you change the subject.
it seems to
Let's
me,
address what we're talking about.
I'm trying to finish my point.
As the Jew at this table,
I'm trying.
Oh, it's the Jew card. As the Jew at this table. By the way, Elon Musk, took his trip to his pilgrimage to Israel. He went with Ben Shapiro. He visited the Holocaust Museum. He has a lot of sympathy for the Jews. And this Jewish gal now playing the card of, look, as the only Jew at this table, that's supposed to shut you up. That in and of itself, by the way, is a form of racism. Hate to say it. But to say that because of my Jewish DNA or my Jewish belief system, I'm the only authority here to weigh in. It's technically a logical fallacy called the genetic fallacy, oddly enough, where you try to discredit a source because of who they are, not what they say. And then she's trying to give credibility to herself as a source because of who she is and not what she says. Normal argument is the argument either stands or it doesn't on its own, regardless of source. So it's a logical fallacy. We're going to keep going with this, the only Jew at the table.
I'm trying to finish my point.
I would say
the people who are most concerned about and most all over Elon Musk today have had nary a word for the Nazis on college campuses who've gone crazy for the last year and a half.
That is bull. That is bull.
Nothing.
I am a Jew.
My only question is to you is, does Elon Musk sue CNN or Catherine Rempel? In the comments below, it's a yes or no. I believe he certainly, does he have a right to sue? How's that? In America, this should be pretty easy. If he really wanted to take care of business, he could really knock CNN down, like sue him for $1 billion. I'm Doug in exile.